With that being said, it's 1:15, so let's go ahead and get started. But thank you everyone for joining us today. We've got a few questions here for our panelists that have come in. So the first question revolves around professional development. And the question is, does iCEV offer free professional development? Which I can answer, yes, we do in multiple ways. But I thought it would be good for our panelists to talk a little bit about the best way to structure that professional development. And we'll go ahead and start with you, Carrie, if you don't mind. And I think you're muted, so if you want to unmute yourself.
Yeah.
There we go.
Thank you, Dusty, and it's great to be here with you all today. So the way that our school district sets up the professional development is we try to have at least one professional development per semester. We try to group teachers by like clusters, and so that we can go ahead and be thematic in the rollout of the PD to align to what CEV has to offer us on the various levels. It's been exciting because I have connective electives such as forensic science that may not be in our sequences, but are able to be part of our professional development days. And we are excited. It was face-to-face, and now we offer the Zoom links, which I think we're getting more people able to attend.
Very good. Thanks, Carrie. How about you, Dr. Cox?
Yeah, thank you for the opportunity to be here this afternoon. It's an interesting question asking if iCEV provides free professional development when we're sitting in the middle of 2 days of free professional development. That's valuable to all of our teachers. We in Volusia County Schools, we have a number of different programs that are using iCEV this coming year. In the past, we've kind of focused on our agri-science programs. And while iCEV provided some demonstrations through distance means in the past, and we've also gotten some professional development at our annual state CTE Teachers Conference, we also have a teacher in-house who is really quite fluent with the product and does some training for other folks as well. And so she has been instrumental, especially in this past spring when we were on stay-at-home orders for a couple of months, helped not only to train other agri-science teachers using through Zoom or through Microsoft Teams, but also all of our other CTE teachers that were taking advantage of having access to iCEV multimedia during the shutdown period. And so I think it's really important to have multiple levels of training, like Carrie was saying, and so that you can start with a nice even keel for new beginners and go a little bit more in depth as people get a little bit more experience with the product. So, and it's free, yes.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Cox. So the next question is, how do you typically fund a program like iCEV for the entire district? So Mr. McClure and Ms. Lozano, if you guys want to cover that question. We'll start with Mr. McClure.
Okay, I appreciate the opportunity to join you guys today, Dusty. I'm Mark McClure, Career Technical Education Director for Cleburne ISD. Cleburne ISD is a district of about 7,500, 8,000 students right south of Fort Worth, Texas. In Texas, like some other states, we have an instructional materials allotment that comes around every, there's a cycle, and CTE was on that cycle, I think in 2016, was it, Dusty? Maybe 2017? 2017, somewhere in there. And we were able to purchase the bulk of our iCEV through that instructional materials allotment, through that proclamation in 2017 for textbooks. We purchased student access to the textbooks as well as teacher access to those. Not all teachers at that point in time actually chose iCEV. Some went the traditional textbook route, and whatever they wanted is kind of what I tried to do for them. But in the situation we found ourselves in now, with the need of having some remote instruction take place here at the beginning of school, I've got several teachers that have come back and said, hey, we need to have access to that. So I just put together a purchase order through state CTE funds here in Texas, and we will be adding 2 different departments, our law enforcement and our new transportation career cluster, to that. So Again, I think there's multiple ways to do it depending on where you are. Federal funds through the Carl Perkins grant or state funds, however you've historically purchased items like this. But again, just appreciate the opportunity to be here. Be glad to answer anything else you've got.
Sure. Ms. Lozano, I know that you guys at Laredo are similar, but as you look at funding, how do you typically handle that, and some advice for CTE directors or administrators that are looking to fund something like this? Oh, and Ms. Lozano, I believe you're muted. Let's see here. Can you unmute her, Landy? There we go.
Okay, sorry. Yes, pretty much the same as Mr. McClure. We did acquire most of our iCEV through the instructional materials, the state adoption, what they call the state adoptions. And as we've needed more, we have gotten further approval because it was state adopted, that we've been able to add additional, specifically for middle schools. But we also have, and thinking of now with this COVID, now that more teachers want the iCEV, now that they're getting acquainted with the iCEV, see, we are also thinking about using the state CTE funds to be able to purchase some. Also, some of the other departments have kind of gotten on board to help us out with some of the funds, so that if we are not able to have enough with our state funds, that we're able to use other departments to pitch in.
Great. Thanks, Ms. Lozano. Aaron, yours is a little bit different from the standpoint of a grant. Can you talk about putting together a grant and how that kind of works with funding and implementation?
Yeah, so we were very fortunate to have a large pot of money up front to kind of fund the curriculum, and gave the teachers a chance to implement it and pilot it within their programs and show it off to administration, so that when that funding did run out, there was a lot of support there at the local sites to pick it up and fund it with the other funds that they had, whether it was their local control funds. We do have an ag incentive grant to pay for some different curricular pieces for our programs. So it kind of went from a pilot on that grant scale into something that the school sites and districts were able to adopt on their own and pay for with their own funds locally after that.
Okay, great. Thanks, Aaron. We did have a question from one of our attendees. How long does it take to get a school set up? I am thinking this might be huge for online teaching with our CTE programs. So let's see here. Anybody, show of hands, who wants to handle that one? Okay, let's start with Dr. Cox and then go on to Carrie.
I would say about 10 minutes at most. I can tell you when we were working with iCEV to get our programs set up during the shutdown, we were talking about 200 teachers or thereabouts in totality. And basically what we did is we sent a spreadsheet to Dusty and Mark, and they went ahead and created all of the accounts for all of our teachers and sent them emails. So all they had to do was log in and set their passwords and so forth, and even, you know, set up the student accounts as well. And all of that was so very fluid. There were a few glitches on our side where, you know, sometimes the email notification ended up in the junk mail folder or got caught up in the email filter or whatever. And we had to reach out and just ask iCEV to resend the email to us. But other than that, the setup was very easy. And then they walk through with our teachers in a demonstration mode to help them get familiar with the format and the platform, and that's very quick and simple as well. Very user friendly, as I'm sure you know. So it's very expedient process. So it'll help you out a lot, especially with online teaching.
Well, and just like Dr. Cox is saying, you know, that the part that's taking the longest to get everything there is for me to download and get all the teachers' email addresses and everybody aligned. So that's what's taking the longest. But the really cool part about it is our district is using Canvas K-12. And so we're looking forward to PD that we're going to have on Thursday and Friday, in which Clayton's already working with our district IT to go ahead and have that one-click button, not only for our instructors, but also for our students. So the ease is just phenomenal.
All right, and we are running out of time, but I want to get this last question in here. So how do you manage industry certifications across the district? And I'm assuming those are the certifications that are tested for on iCEV. Aaron, as part of your grant program, that was one of the outcomes. Can you talk a little bit to that and how you managed it and how you worked with teachers to motivate to get the outcomes you were looking for in the grant?
Yeah, so we were in kind of a 4-year cycle. So that initial year when we implemented iCEV was a pilot and kind of just for teachers to get their feet wet and see how it worked in their programs. The second year, we implemented some incentives for programs that had the most certifications per teacher. Year 2, we added to that because at that point, more teachers were like, oh, this looks interesting, where there was a most improved per site. Those incentives were some additional equipment that we had money to fund within those programs. Moving forward, we've actually been able to formalize it as a consortium goal for our program. So for this upcoming year, 100% of all the introductory pathway students we're hoping 100% of them are going to attempt the career preparedness certificate. And then those students that are in concentrator and capstone courses will take an additional certificate test within something more specific to the pathway that they're enrolled in. And then, I mean, this is what worked for us across these 21 different districts because they're highly competitive and they enjoy these incentives. The other thing that I think is pretty cool that iCEV did was provide these giant placards to put up in their classrooms that listed the students' names under each certificate. And when I go and travel to those programs now, like they are prominently displayed in those classrooms, the students' names, and there's kind of a legacy instilled in that. And so it's been a really motivating factor for the students too, not just the teachers, but this has been a 4-year work in progress, but I think we've made a lot of ground kind of giving the teachers some room to play, incentivizing, and then having some very clear goals for what we want them to accomplish.
Awesome. Thanks, Aaron. Well, I think that does it for our time today. Thanks for attending the session. Don't forget to redeem the sessions code in the CTE Challenges tab. After the conference, you'll receive a digital certificate based on the number of sessions that you attended. And the most important part, the code for this session is DIST017, and that's in the chat there as well. So thanks again to our panelists, Mr. McClure, Ms. Lozano, Dr. Gorder, Dr. Cox, and Ms. Hernandez. Have a great day.